In the studio with me, Shannon Schnellner today, and we're going to talk today about why having a hearing aid can change your life. You know who's going to help us do that? Donna Van Hoy is here, and she's going to tell the story about how it actually did change her life. Stay tuned, listen, and learn.
This is America's Healthcare Advocate, your guide to protecting your personal health, bringing you simplified answers to the complex questions surrounding healthcare. Empowering you to take control of your health and wellness.
My very special guest today, Grace Marie Turner.
Cary, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I do have to say, you are the most knowledgeable about health policy, just superlative.
Broadcasting coast to coast across the USA.
Fact versus fiction.
This is what we mean by separating fact from fiction on the subject of healthcare.
Just walk me through this. That's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. You know, we do these shows for a reason.
And now, America's Healthcare Advocate, Cary Hall.
Hello, America. Welcome to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA here on the HI Radio Network. You can find out more about us by going to our website, americashealthcareadvocate.com. That is the website, americashealthcareadvocate.com. All the shows are posted up there, along with our 16 podcast platforms and our YouTube platform. Latest numbers, 653,000 of you are downloading this show, which is a little bit mind-blowing to me, but we are very appreciative and thank all of you that are doing that. And, of course, all of you listening across the country on our 243 affiliates. We greatly appreciate all of you out there as well. If you are chronologically challenged and you're looking for a Medicare plan, you want to give the lovely Jacqueline Huber a call over at RPS Benefits by Design, 877-385-2224. Anywhere in the country, they can help you. Just had somebody relocate from Washington State to here. They needed help making a new choice on the plan. She took care of all of that for them, 877-385-2224. And if you're looking for employer-sponsored health care or health insurance benefits, you need to talk to Maria Allers. She is the president of RPS Benefits by Design, and there's some pretty innovative stuff happening out there. All right, in studio with me today, Shannon Schnellner from Focus Hearing. How many of these have we done? I'm starting to lose track. We've done a few.
Is this 4 or 5?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Shannon Schnellner, she is the founder, president, CEO of Focus Hearing here in the Overland Park, Lenexa area. We're doing another show today on hearing. You know, we run these shows nationally, even though Shannon is here in Overland Park, because the response we get to these from people downloading and listening to them has been absolutely amazing. Today, we're going to have a special show because Donna Van Hoy is here in studio. Welcome, Donna.
Hello. Glad to be here.
She's going to tell her story about, you know, you've heard me talk about this in the past, about how you went to 2 different hearing aid groups, Bell, and then this other one, whatever it was, I can't even remember the name of it. Bad situation on both counts. Lousy service. The hearing aids didn't work like they should, the whole deal. And then we found Shannon, and everything changed for my wife, for me. You know, we have Lynn Mendazzo, my rep here at Cumulus Radio. A lot of people are going to see Shannon because what she does is very unusual, and the service level is quite remarkable. So we're going to talk about why hearing aids again today, and then Donna's going to tell her story about what she went through and why she came to Shannon and what a difference it's made for her. So let's just start. You know, this is a Better Hearing Month.
Yes.
This is interesting. You said this before we came on the air. They've revised the stats now. Mm-hmm. For every 4 people who have a hearing loss, 1 is actually
Correct.
Well, I'm not sure if that's up or that's down. Is that up or down?
It might be slightly up.
That's
and
what
I'd like to think it's because technology is getting better. But yeah, that's still 1 in 4. That's still not great.
No, it's really bad. And, you know, we go through this usually every time we do one of these. We're going to go through it again. It's not just the hearing.
Right.
Okay. Let's go through all the comorbidities that come along with not hearing.
Right.
Including affect your social life.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, you know, we keep talking more and more about Alzheimer's and treating your hearing loss as the number 1 modifiable risk factor. So everything else is predispositions, things like that. But this is the one thing that you have control over, that you can fight that Alzheimer's bug that's coming around, you know.
That's interesting because I don't think, we've said this before, but I doubt that the listening audience out there have any idea there's a correlation between the two.
Correct. Well, it's all about keeping your brain stimulated. So when you have hearing loss, the portion of your brain that does the auditory processing is literally just laying on the couch, drinking Diet Coke, eating chips.
Maybe not drinking Diet Coke.
But it's just not being stimulated. So that system will atrophy. And that's what we're trying to fight, is that atrophy of the brain and those neurological connections between the ear and the brain for the process of hearing and understanding.
And having the ability to hear, like the two hearing aids I have in, allows that not to occur.
Correct.
Yeah, and prevents that atrophy from happening because you're engaging.
Yes.
And that's the important part, right?
And when you have hearing loss and it's untreated, the vision portion of your brain is working overtime. So the eyes are having to overwork because the ears aren't doing its job. So then when you treat your hearing loss, then the eyes, you're not having to focus, and it balances out that portion of the brain that your eyes aren't having to work for your ears.
That's interesting, because you hear that when you lose one of your senses, the other one, five,
absolutely.
The other one compensates.
Yes.
And so, boy, it must be a real problem if you're having vision issues and then you're not.
It's terrible. Yes. I mean,
you're compounding a thing times how many ever. Yeah.
And sometimes when you have severe to profound hearing loss, you really depend on your eyes to put the whole picture together. And so that's what's really important. I tell my patients this all the time, that if they're to a certain point, hearing aids are going to help, but your eyes are really going to take you over that threshold.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. We've talked about this before. I want to touch on it again. If you don't treat it, what happens? If you let it keep going?
It's never going to get better.
Thank you.
It's never going to go away. I don't want it to ever get to a point where you're that bad, because once you're to that bad, it's really hard to adjust to a hearing aid. That hearing loss has sat there for 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden you try and stimulate it. The brain's going to fight that a little bit. So it's always easier to treat it early because the jump back to normal is easier for the patient.
Yeah,
easier
so
transition.
You're stopping it. You're stopping the loss.
You are stopping where you're at right now.
Yeah, and you're implementing something that's gonna eventually either reverse it or stop it where it is.
Correct. And when it comes to your hearing loss, and we've talked about this before, the things that you start to not do in your life because you're not hearing well, and then you're withdrawing, and then you're not hanging out with your family and your friends, and then you're starting to isolate, and the isolation can lead to depression. There's just this snowball effect of not treating your hearing loss.
Yeah, the longer you let it go, the three of you out there, the 1 in 4 is getting treated, the 3 of you out there that aren't getting treated, that's who we're talking to. If that's your husband or if that's your wife, okay, or it's your grandfather, or whatever the case may be, you probably ought to have a conversation because it's going to get progressively worse, and you can stop it.
Yes,
I mean, both
absolutely.
Lori and I had the issue, and it was getting worse. And then we were fortunate enough to come to you, and you were able to do what you did. And I can't be without this thing. I mean, honestly, I can't.
Well, what's happening with you is that once you wear hearing aids and you get used to them, when you take them out, you feel like the bottom falls out. And that's just because now your brain has a comparison.
Yeah.
You don't realize how bad you were doing because you weren't wearing hearing aids. Now you're wearing hearing aids, you're hearing better. You take them out, and now your brain is like, oh my goodness, this is what we've been doing this whole time without them. So you get that comparison now.
Yeah, and it's a pretty stark comparison.
It is. It is.
I don't care whether you're watching television or you're having a conversation or you're out to dinner, you're at a business function, whatever. It's like night and day.
Yes.
And when it's not there, it's pain. Like when I forget and drive out, head to a meeting, oh my God, I left them.
Got to go back.
Either turn around and go back, or it's going to be a long afternoon, no doubt.
Yes.
All right, folks, we're going to come back after the break. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to get into Donna's story here in a little while about why she did this. But before we do that, we're going to talk about how expensive these things can be, affordability, and what can you do to get help with that. We'll be right back after the break. If you want information, it's myfocushearing.com. myfocushearing.com. The phone number 913-754-2144. 913-754-2144. If you're not happy or you're having a problem, do yourself a favor and go in for a consultation with and see what Shannon can do for you. We'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA. We're right back. Welcome back. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA here on the HIA Radio Network. I want to give a little shout out to 1440 KMAJ, the big talker in Topeka, Kansas. Very happy to be on the air up there and part of the Cumulus family in Topeka, Kansas. A great radio station. Carries a lot of shows we do here in our studios in Overland Park, Kansas. My producer today, Mr. Dave Thiessen and Garner Cowdery. Dave Thiessen behind the cameras, the man who puts all these up on the podcast platforms and YouTube, and Garner Cowdery, who does all the audio work here in the Cumulus studio. In studio with me, Shannon Schnellner from Focus Hearing, and Donna Van Hoy. She is a patient of Shannon's. We're going to hear her story here in a minute. If you want help, you want a consultation, you want to just talk to Shannon, 913-754-2144. Give her a call, get an appointment, and go in there and just let her do an evaluation. You might be surprised what you learn. Now, I said in the opening monologue that I run these shows across the country.
Yes.
Now, tell me the story you just told on break, because I do this for a reason, people, okay? So we can educate and inform.
Exactly.
I say this over and over again. That's the idea behind this broadcast. So go ahead, tell the story. This is really good.
A big reason why we do this is just increasing awareness. So we can get, instead of 1 of 4, let's get 2 of 4.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be great. We had a gentleman from Florida, had heard our show, reached out, called my clinic, messaged us, and he was just talking about how he had heard us and enjoyed what we had to say and just appreciated our compassionate approach towards hearing loss and the relationship to Alzheimer's. His wife had Alzheimer's, and just some of the things that we talked about kind of hit home to him. And so he had reached out, and I referred him to a colleague in Florida and referred him down there. But it was just interesting how someone in Florida called Overland Park, which is great. It's
that's
great.
why we run these things
Absolutely.
where we do across the country, because it does make a big difference. And to that point, if you are listening to us and you're in Indiana, or you're in Anchorage, Alaska, or you're in Redlands, California, or you're in Georgia, Dalton, Georgia, these are all places where we're on the radio. If you do call Shannon, she will find somebody, refer somebody to you. And I'll strongly suggest you that it won't be one of the conglomerate hearing aid groups that you see advertised on television, or you see in your newspaper, or you listen to on the radio, other than my show. Okay, so having said that, you can call her. It's 913-754-2144. You can always come to Kansas City, eat some good barbecue, and actually go see her. If you'd like to do that as well. So Donna brought something up, and I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about this in a minute, but affordability.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that, because some seniors are on fixed incomes. They don't have the ability to pay for these things. They're not cheap. I mean,
correct.
And so talk about how you help people overcome that challenge, and the programs that are available, especially, we've got, what do we got? 43 million people on Medicare Advantage plans now.
Right.
So there are benefits on those Medicare Advantage plans. Let's talk about that, and what you accept and what you do.
Correct. So we accept all of them. So traditional Medicare, of course, does not pay for hearing aids. It's not medically necessary to hear better. And I know they've been working, trying to get that change at the federal level. It just isn't happening.
They're too busy getting the fat drug approved.
Well, there you go. So, so for it to say it's not medically necessary, but all the studies that keep coming out relating that to untreated hearing loss and Alzheimer's, I would like to hope that in the future that's going to change. But for now, Medicare Advantage plans do have a hearing aid benefit. Some of them are better than others. Up front, you might look at them and like, oh, this amount looks higher, but there's a lot going on behind that curtain. That's what we do for a living. So we know when you come in, this is your insurance. We know exactly what to do. And we're going to say, this is your options. This is what your insurance will cover, what it won't. If it doesn't cover and we're looking at completely out of pocket, we have all kinds of programs. I have a whole price range.
Oh, we got discount. We've got
discount programs.
That Blue Cross and Blue Shield 365
there's
discount
a discount program.
Absolutely. We're on the meds up the same things Donna's on.
Right.
And Blue Cross has got that 365, which gave us a discount.
And I get the whole picture. Like, these are 3 or 4 things that I would suggest for you. Is this something you're comfortable with? Great. If it's not, let's talk about what we need to take away to get it something that's affordable for you. I don't want that to be the reason why you're not hearing better. So if we need a payment plan or we need whatever we need to do, our clinic is very, very good about making that happen.
And here's the thing, people. We talk about affordability, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Well, I can go buy that thing off television for $59 or whatever it is. Let me just tell you something. that's not going to be something that's going to work. And here's the other problem. When you have a problem with it, and believe me, these things, they have issues. I mean, I've had issues with mine. Fortunately, walk right in to Shannon's clinic. She has walk-in hours. You're able to get them fixed and done and over with. It's remarkable. You're not going to do that if you buy something off television. And also, when you buy off of these large hearing aid companies around the country that advertise like crazy, try going back in and getting service done. That's one of the reasons why I made the change I made, was after using two different companies, okay, there was no service in the customer service.
Right.
One of the strong suits of what you do, talk about that I think it's great that, you've got hours that people can just walk in. They don't have to make an appointment.
Correct.
With the other ones, you had to make an appointment if you could get in.
Correct.
You were the second group I had, you couldn't get in sometimes for a week or longer.
Right.
Because they had one little lady trying to do it all. And
right.
It was crazy. So talk about, I think that's wonderful. You've got two locations, one in Lenexa, one in Overland Park. Chat a little bit about the open, the times.
And I agree. I feel like that what really does set us apart is, yes, you can call and make an appointment to see me. That's what I do all day, every day.
Yeah.
But one of the nice features of hearing aids now is Bluetooth. And that is also can be very problematic when it comes to telephones. So it's not full energy Bluetooth, it's low energy, it can be finicky, it can be glitchy. I don't want you calling in and having to wait a week or two to see Shannon when you can walk in to our walk-in clinic. My techs know what to do. They fix your Bluetooth in and out. 2 minutes later, you're on your way. We just feel very, very adamant about the service when it comes to hearing aids. It's really important, especially now because of Bluetooth.
It's wonderful. I mean, my hearing aid, the one that I have, allows me to bring it up. And yesterday I was at lunch with Lori, my wife, and the place was noisy. I went down, scrolled down, hit restaurant. It blocked out I wasn't listening to the table next to me or the guy at the bar or whatever. I was able to focus on having conversation with their wife, which she appreciated, obviously. So having said that learning how to use these things, and when they do have a problem,
right.
I've had issues, and I've gone in there and, oh, yeah, here, let me put a new this in or put a new that in. And the techs are right there. They know how to do it. They get it done, and you're in and out in like 10, 15 minutes. So, the customer service thing is a big deal. And I reiterate that because you buy this stuff off television or you go to one of these big hearing aid centers and then, they sell you something, because really what they're interested in is one and done. Sell them this thing and get them out the door. Not, Shannon's story is completely different. And that's why she's on this radio show, and that's why we use her, and that's why she does such a great job. Their customer service is real customer service. And again, back to that comment we were talking about earlier in the last segment, when you get used to these things and you need them,
you really depend on them.
I'm in panic mode.
Correct. Yes.
Like I'm going to go on vacation, and that it's critical to be able to know that you've got it and it's going to work. So, all right, when we come back from the break, Donna's going to tell her story, why she did this, what a difference it's made, and how she likes working with Shannon Schnellner. So we'll be right back after the break. It's myfocushearing.com, myfocushearing.com. The phone number, 913-754-2144. If your hearing aids aren't working, make an appointment, go see her. If she can fix them, she'll fix them. Even though she didn't sell them to you, she'll be happy to do that. 913-754-2144. We'll be right back after the break. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate, broadcasting here on the HIA Radio Network, coast to coast, across the USA. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA here on the HIA Radio Network. You can find out more about us by going to the website, americashealthcareadvocate.com. If you have a question, if I can help you, send me an email. I'll be happy to help you. I get a lot of them. I answer them. I'm more than happy to do it. In studio with me, Shannon Schnellner from Focus Hearing. She is the founder, CEO, president, and chief cook and bottle washer over at Focus Hearing, who does just about everything there, along with all of her techs. And the show, again, is on the why having hearing aids makes such a difference in your life. You heard her tell the story in the last segment about the man from Florida calling. We do run these shows nationally, and there's a reason for it. If you want help, it's myfocushearing.com, Phone number 913-754-2144. So Donna Van Hoy is here with us. She's your patient. So why don't you introduce the story? And I want to hear Donna's story.
Yes, I remember you came in.
Yes.
And we had a lovely conversation, and I could just read apprehension, hesitation, and frustration. I just remember that initial conversation that we had, that you told me your history and what you'd done and what hadn't worked. And I know towards the end of that appointment, I was like, I'm really stubborn. I'm on a mission. I'm going to make this happen for you. So just go ahead and tell us more about what you experienced and go from there.
Well, I'm not new to hearing aids. This is the fourth pair I have.
This is how many times?
This is my fourth pair.
I only went through 3 before I got to her, so you
okay. I
you
went
beat
through
me by 1.
Yeah, but anyhow, the first 2, not a big difference. But then I got the third pair, and my hearing just got worse and worse. And I kept on thinking, why go get another pair of hearing aids? I've been to 3 different companies, and everybody had recommended all 3 places, So, and I was just kind of like, well, I guess I won't hear the rest of my life. And I went to an event where, there was a speaker, and there's tables and everybody's talking. And I came home and I was just miserable because I hadn't heard the speaker, hadn't been able to involve in the conversation because it was just a buzz. And I was just miserable. And so I Googled cochlear implants. I was ready for surgery.
Wow. Okay.
And I needed to know more about that. And I don't know why, but Focus Hearing came up as my first thing. And I don't know, I called them, and like I say, the lady on the phone, she gave me hope. And
what do you mean by that, Donna? She gave
me enough hope that I would at least go in and make an appointment.
Okay.
Now, I didn't know that I was going to buy hearing aids,
right?
But I was going to try it, So, and that was the first step. You had to go in, you had to.
And that's usually the hardest step.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I was already ready to wear hearing aids. I just didn't want to spend a lot of money and not be able to hear again.
Correct.
So I went in and I met Shannon, and she told me, just as I told her story, she said, I'm on a mission. Now, I'm not really sure all the how it happens, but she did a test, and she did a hearing test that no one else had ever done on me, and that was to test my hearing in an environment where there was a lot of noise, which is one of my problems.
Yep.
And anyhow, she gave me 3 suggestions for hearing aids. I actually chose the most expensive, thinking, I don't know that most expensive is always the best, but I wanted that. I was like, I wanted to hear.
Well, you were desperate to get this done.
Yes, because I wasn't able to do anything. I'm old, but I still got a few years to, that I want to do.
I think you're doing pretty good, actually.
And I just bought them. And like I said, when I went in, I was not convinced that I was going to buy hearing aids. I was looking at surgery,
that's pretty radical. You're doing the cochlear ear implant.
And I don't want surgery. I'm not.
Of course not. Nobody does.
But anyhow, I got the hearing aids, and then I went in, and she put them in my ears. And I could tell immediately. I could just tell I was hearing. They changed my life. Everywhere I went, I could hear stuff that I hadn't heard for years. Mm-hmm. There's a rattle in my car I need to get fixed. So, but I didn't even know it was there. But, anyhow.
Yeah.
One of the big things that happened was I had given up going to like a theater because there's no closed captioning on live theater. I had the opportunity a few months ago to go. I bought the tickets at the last minute. Somebody couldn't go, and I bought the tickets, and I had an awesome time. I heard the whole play. It's just like, okay, I have my life back. I can now hear. My life has been transformed. And like I say, I don't understand what all Shannon did. But
you don't really care, just so it works.
That's right. I don't care. I don't need to understand. I just need to know. Because I know she didn't just pull this hearing aids off the shelf and put them in my ears, but they made a huge difference. Like I say, I can now hear. Before with my last pair of hearing aids, half the time I didn't wear them because I didn't know when I had them in and when I didn't. Where now, I don't want to leave the house without my hearing aids.
You're just like me.
Yeah, they're that critical for me because everything's a buzz without them.
Yep.
I hear, I just can't understand anything anybody says. And, I was just withdrawing more and more. And like I say, that day that I made the call, I was just beside myself. I mean, it was just like, this is what I got left to, just live by myself, I guess.
Right. And I can remember you sitting in that chair, and I could just see you just not giving up, but I could feel that you were just so frustrated.
I was pretty much giving up.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, after you'd done 4 of them, I can imagine
I'd done 3. This was the 4th pair,
Correct.
the good pair.
And how kudos to her to give me that 4th chance.
Yeah.
No, and I would understand nobody would want to do that. I completely understand.
No, actually, the point I think I want the audience to take away from here is don't throw in the towel. Okay, if you've tried 1 or 2, in Donna's case 3, in my case 2, before I got to Shannon, listen to what Donna is saying and understand what a difference it makes. Literally, she goes to an event to hear the speaker and she can't hear the speaker. And her comment, there was no closed caption. I bet you know what she was doing when she was watching television. She was running closed caption, trying to keep up with the closed caption and watch the show at the same time. It's really a pleasure not to have to do that. Okay.
And especially, I'll give you, I have vision issues also.
Yeah.
So that's really, absolutely.
Yeah, and
Even
vision
more
issues
important.
that are being treated, but, I'm just saying, it just adds to that. I just felt hopeless. I mean, I had almost given up. I really had it not been for her,
Shannon.
for the lady that answered the phone that convinced me to get there. And Shannon's the one that changed.
My staff did the work.
But they got me in and I don't even know what they said, but they made me feel like, well, let's try this. And like I say, Shannon told me I'm on a mission. And somehow I felt like it was she was concerned about me.
Personal. How she does things.
Well, I could just see her. You're a very vibrant personality. And the woman in front of me was just struggling to be that. And I'm just like, I've got to change this for you. It's just, we can do this.
And you did. My whole life changed.
Good.
Yeah.
Because now I go to the theater and I can watch it and I hear it and have a good time.
And you get to be with your friends and it's a different world.
Yeah, and in a restaurant I can talk to people like you say. I can adjust my phone. And that's even extra plus. But because when I started out, I didn't have that option.
No, neither did I. That came with Shannon.
Yeah. And so that's just an extra plus. It was the hearing aids that made the difference. Like I say, she put them in my ears. I could tell immediately, just the noise around, the room.
Yeah, it's significantly different once you get it fixed, okay, it's like all these things that I didn't even know were going on around me, like your car's rattle. I hope you got that fixed. That you're able to know, look at this. Like, for instance, I go out every morning and I walk my corgi. We usually go around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. If I don't have the hearing aids in, I can't hear the birds.
Yeah.
Right.
I have all kinds of bird feeders in my house. Okay. I have like 5 bird feeders, 4 bird baths. I mean, I love birds. I want to hear my birds. So, I put the hearing aids in, I'm hearing everything that's going on. It's just, it is such a difference. And, Katharine Hepburn had a line that was kind of interesting. She said, getting old is not for sissies. Okay.
And it's true.
This stuff comes with age, people. I'm just going to tell you, I'm 76. I'll be 77 in 20 days. Okay. And, if you're not paying attention, you just heard what Donna said. Her life was becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, withdrawing all the things that Shannon talks about. Withdrawing, you just heard a live testimonial as to what that's like. If you're that person, or that's your husband, or that's your wife, or that's your grandfather or grandmother, and they're struggling with this, take the time, make the call. Get a hold of Shannon and her folks and get in there and just let them see if they can help you. The phone number is 913-754-2144, 913-754-2144. The website, myfocushearing.com, myfocushearing.com. We'll come right back after the break. We've got more. Stay there. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA. Welcome back. You're listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA here on the HIA Radio Network. In studio with me, Shannon Schnellner and Donna Van Hoy. You just heard her story. Now you know why we do these radio shows, okay? This is a classic example of someone who was able to get help from Shannon. And you also heard Shannon talk about the man that called from Florida. I mean, we do run these nationally for a reason. We're trying to educate you on these issues, and we're also making appeal to you. Don't let your life, you just heard Donna say this. Her life was shrinking. She likes to go to the theater. She's gone to some events of public speaking. She couldn't hear anything, had no idea what they were even talking about. Well, why go if you can't enjoy it, right?
Yes.
Well, that's what we've been saying for some time. So this is an opportunity to reverse that, to stop that, because here's the deal. If you don't treat this, it gets progressively worse. Okay, you can stop it where it's at by getting treatment, but you heard Shannon in the first segment say your brain atrophies when you don't use that particular sense, and that's exactly what goes on. If you want to reach out to her, 913-754-2144, 2 locations, Overland Park and Lenexa. The website, myfocushearing.com. So you mentioned customer service. You went to break. Talk about what your experience on customer service was.
Just awesome customer service. The charger that came with the hearing aids just didn't meet my needs. It was nothing wrong with it, just wasn't. And so I went back in and I was going to buy another one, okay. And they're like, oh no. And they gave me what I wanted. And they said, just bring the other one back, and I brought it back, it was just like, no big deal. I have another story. You want me to tell you?
Yeah, come on. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, you know how when you buy things, sometimes they just have defects.
Yeah, yes.
And the hearing aids weren't always charging. I took them into Shannon. She says, oh, well, let's just order you new ones. They're under warranty. I mean, a lot of times they won't turn in the warranty. They just want to try to fix. And I told her it might be user error.
Doesn't matter. I wanted to make sure.
She did the exact same thing with me.
She never even blinked an eye. She just like, we're going to get you new hearing aids.
I actually lost one of these and couldn't find it. And she said, well, Cary, it was under warranty. It's a replacement. I'm like, you're kidding me. No, when I got a brand new one, I didn't pay for it. Yeah. And these puppies are not cheap. So you're
right. Yeah. And I do want to say that I'm very, very grateful. I'm not a rich woman, but I could afford the hearing aids.
Yeah. So, and I as well, same thing.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to afford it. But again, there's lots of options out there that Shannon can. If you are concerned about the money, go see her first. Let her deal with the money once you see her. Yeah. So let's talk about this piece on testing. This is fascinating because I remember this when you put me in your booth. Mm-hmm. It's like being tested at Nassau. You went through all these protocols, and I remember the noise protocols. And I was like, what the hell? Okay, all right, there's a reason for this. But Donna said nobody ever done that. Well, nobody ever done it for me either. So why don't other hearing companies do this, hearing aid centers do this, and why do you do it and they don't? Because they don't. Okay, I can tell you on the other 2 that I did, they did not do it. Okay, so let's talk about that.
So you're referring to the speech and noise test. So when you talk about a comprehensive exam, there are state regulations that you have to do a step-by-step, and this is what we have to do. And that's all well and good. That's all the information I need. When it comes to fitting a hearing aid, I need more information so that I can really hone in on what you need. And all of those tests are done in quiet. Because we want to know best case scenario. What in the sound booth, best case scenario, no noise, how are you doing? Okay, that's great. We don't live in a sound booth.
Well put.
So if I don't test you in noise, I am guessing. And you will be surprised at someone that you think is going to process really well because their audiogram looks pretty good. You put them in a crowd and they just completely fall apart. If I don't test for that, I didn't know that. And that test just really helps me fit your hearing aid better.
Okay,
it helps
but
me
you
explain.
do it and the other ones don't. Why don't?
It's not required.
Oh,
it's not
there
required.
It is, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not required. But for me, and I just feel like that's one of the most important things that I do.
Clearly.
Because we don't live in a quiet world.
No. Yeah.
And it's harder to fit a hearing aid when you're guessing. Or you like, let's just say you got hearing aids and I didn't run that test, and you go to a crowd and you're like, I still didn't hear and I just spent all this money. Well, if I didn't run your test, I wouldn't know what the problem was.
And the beauty, and again, I'll hold this up on the app that I have. There's 2 apps on there to eliminate noise. two separate settings for noise elimination. So
Right.
that's part of the beauty of this
Right.
thing. But being tested for it's critical.
Well, and it's also information for me because if you do really well, great. If you fall apart, we have to have that discussion because you could spend $8,000-9,000 on hearing aids, and when you come in the crowd, that's just how you process, and you're still going to struggle. There's tools we can use, there's mics and other things we can do, but I just have to be able to prepare you for that, and I feel like it's a huge disservice if I don't.
It is, and that again, that's the difference, folks. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Let's before we wrap it up. A couple of new things going on: Opticon, Zeal, and Starkey.
Yes, so there's
this.
yes,
This is constantly
it's
evolving.
constantly changing. This is not grandma's hearing aid anymore. And I just
if grandma had hearing aids.
Well, and I just want to encourage everyone. I feel like I'm very fortunate to be a professional fitting hearing aids right now because of the technology that we have, and some things that we've been waiting on. We want something small, discreet. We want it rechargeable. We want it Bluetooth. We want to stream our phone calls. We couldn't do that before, and now we have everything that we want. So if the way that it looks has been an issue for you, and that is not right or wrong, that's important for you.
Yeah.
I need to know that. I can hide your hearing aid. It's easier for me to do that than you walk around trying to hide your hearing loss all day.
Thank you.
So just tell me what's important to you, and if that hearing aid will address your hearing loss, we're good. I'm going to let you drive the bus on that. What I'm not going to let you do is pick a hearing aid that's like a 4-cylinder Honda trying to pull a truckload of hay bales. So as long as what you want will address your hearing loss, I'm good with that. I want you to wear it.
Obviously. Okay. And but it's interesting to me, just these phonacs that I have, and they're, 4 or 5 years old now at least?
We're getting up there.
Yeah, we are. Yet they still, they function. This was a huge leap forward for me from when we got them because of all the things they can do.
Yes.
And I'm deaf in one ear. I had a brain tumor removed in 1985, lost all hearing over here. And Shannon was like, you really ought to get that other hearing aid. I don't have an ear. Well, no, it's going to transmit sound. And I didn't do it in the beginning. And then I came back about 2 months later and I said, these are working really well. This one, how about we try that thing? Well, guess what? I've got both of them and I would never go back. Okay. But you showed me the difference in how it could work, and it made a big difference. Thank you both for coming in here today.
Thank you for having us.
I think this is going to help a lot of people. Okay. A lot of folks are going to hear this show. And again, as I said, if it's your husband, your wife, your grandfather, your uncle, whatever it may be, okay, or a friend of yours, let them hear the show. Go up and listen to the podcast. It's on 16 podcast channels. It's on YouTube. You can find it and listen to it, and you'll be surprised the effect it'll have on someone when they learn all of what you heard here today. She is Shannon Schnellner. It's myfocushearing.com. It's the website, myfocushearing.com. 913-754-2144 here in the Metro. 2 facilities, one in Overland Park, one in Lenexa. They've got walk-ins, the whole 9 yards. It's great opportunity to stop something from, you heard Donna say it, get your life back. That's exactly what you're able to do. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this thought from Dr. Albert Einstein. The one who follows the crowd will usually get no further than the crowd. The one who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever been. Remember, friends, it's a funny thing about life. If you refuse to accept anything but the very best, you most often get it. Thank you for listening to America's Healthcare Advocate Show, broadcasting coast to coast across the USA. Goodbye, America.